It's not really book club until you have a drink. I mean, it could be water. Pick whatever you want, but, you know. Aaron says, I drink when I listen to live episodes, so as long as it's at least 8 a.m., I can justify it.
We can do that.
Oh, that would be a challenge. But you know what? For you guys, I will do it. That will also probably be the worst episode in history because I'll have to piggyback my beer with my coffee, and I just will not be with it.
Hey, we could do morning drinks. It doesn't. If we were doing a morning episode, we could do like Bloody Marys and mimosas.
Well, yeah, we'll just call it brunch.
Yeah.
That's what fancy people do. They get away with it all the time.
And
Done.
I've seen people make mimosas with beer, so we'll make it work.
All right, well, hey, I will try anything once.
Twist my arm. So when Richard brings up the prophecy about the keeper...
We don't say the K word.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow, you're slipping now. No.
Sorry. The he who must not be named. And the fact that Shota told him about it, Verna starts talking. Wow, I'm so sorry. Again, that Shota starts. When Richard brings up the prophecy about the keeper, and that Shota told him about it, Verna talks shit about witch women for a minute. I got it, guys. I got it out.
Nailed it. Yeah, the second she hears that Richard heard and believed anything from a witch woman, Verna starts going off. She's like, yeah, they could be well-intentioned at times, but they're not trustworthy, and things don't really turn out the way they say, or things don't really turn out the way it seems like they said it would. Yeah, there's the end of the sentence.
You mean kind of like prophecy? Like we've been being told about prophecy?
Right, exactly. Well, it's funny because those things go hand in hand, and nobody is unclear about that. Yeah, prophecy might seem this way, but it's probably going to turn out another way. And, this kind of reminded me of how different religions will kind of discredit each other. Like, okay, little bit of background. We'll keep it light, and then we'll move on. I grew up religious. I haven't been involved in the church in a long time. I'm not religious now. But when I was, how do we say this nicely? When I made profession of faith, I asked my pastor, we're Christians here, and then if I was born in the Middle East, we would, believe in Islam. Who's right? Are we right or are they right? Because we both think we're right. And there was no good answer other than we're right, just have faith.
Yeah.
And to me, the witch woman and sorceress, right?
Yeah.
Verna would be a sorceress.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I am positive that Shota would say the same thing about Verna. Like, oh, Sister of the Light, you don't want to mess around with them. Here, let me tell you why.
But Shota did tell him that Sisters of Light were his best bet.
Yeah, but I know she did. I think...
In general, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
It's the least worst option.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did you read the chat?
No, I was talking. I can't read and talk at the same time unless I'm reading out loud. Then it helps. Oh yes, that's a Harry Potter joke. It's mimosa, not mimosa.
Yeah,
I love it. Samuel L. Jackson voice. English, motherfucker. Do you speak it? I can't do the impression, though. It won't be good, so I won't try.
No. Jared McCracken said breakfast beers are a thing, or am I addicted? I feel like I just haven't lived if somebody else is drinking beers during breakfast and I'm not.
Sir, I've had a thing called a shower beer, so I absolutely, wholeheartedly believe breakfast beers are a thing.
And also, Aaron's talking about coffee beer. So that makes sense too.
You know, that does make sense. And it's not quite time to begin talking about that, but that ties in quite amazingly with our beer break today.
It really does. It's like, yeah. Like you could see what we're drinking.
We totally last second planned this.
So the Skreelings are brought up during Verna and Richard's conversation. Verna tells him that they weren't holy shit. Verna tells him that they weren't sent after him. They just escaped the underworld, and makes him feel dumb for believing in a child's song. Which, I mean, kind of when you break it down to that, I like. If somebody told me, "Oh no, they're coming after me because my girlfriend heard a song when she was 5," I'd probably be like, maybe not.
From Drunk Wizards.
Yeah.
No less. But when he started to bring this up, I was like, yeah, this makes total sense. And so, I mean, so you saw this yourself? Well, no, I mean, somebody told me about it, and they heard it from somebody else, and then it was a long time ago, and it was from a song, and it just, thread by thread, she starts pulling the sweater apart, and by the end of it, yeah, it's like, oh, Richard, you probably shouldn't be basing what you're doing solely on that.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously there's more factors, but yeah, it seemed kind of silly after she pointed that out.
Well, and she also says prophecy is really messy. You can't really believe anything, you know, the whole, like, excuse for why none of what he says matters. He just has to have faith. Just
have faith, child. That was probably the single most frustrating aspect of religion for me, because I'm just not built that way. I'm too OCD. I need answers. I need to know stuff, and I need to be sure about stuff. So the ghostly have faith, and it's all gonna happen. Don't worry. I can't not worry.
It's just funny that she keeps telling him to have faith throughout this whole thing, and yet his, like, the things he is saying he can't have faith in. Like, there's no more qualifications on either side, really.
Right.
But I'm right, and you're wrong.
At best, you may have canceled out what I learned from the witch woman, but you still haven't proven that I can trust you.
Yeah.
And that's something he says directly from the book. He's like, I'm taking nothing on faith. Yeah. Get her.
He tells Verna that he saw his dead dad come back, and she immediately starts poking holes in that story. Asking questions in the most irritating way. Like, I could not wait for this little part to be done because she was so smug and questiony, and it was just, like, crawling in my skin. He tells her that it happened during a gathering, and she maybe correctly assumes he was tripping balls. Because,
he definitely was.
Yeah. But it makes sense after she lays it out. Again, she's like, you were kind of high, and you fell into the fire. Maybe.
Now, this is something that bothered me. Was about the fire. Excuse me. Okay. First, we got to bring something else up. Verna drops some savages during this conversation, and I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. This did not occur to me at all until I got home from work and started talking to Jade. Huge oof. You cannot put the term savages to people.
Yeah.
Even if they live out in the wild and they have no human contact, it doesn't make them savage.
I mean, it does make sense. Like, I feel like her religious side, like, that's common, I feel like, in that. But, yeah, it's not great. You shouldn't be calling people savages.
I think, if anything, it comes from a place of these people don't know the creator, so they're just out there and wild, and it didn't necessarily have anything to do with the fact that they were living out in the woods in huts, and, like, I didn't think it meant that. I think it was more of the, for lack of a better term, religious side of it. But yeah, not a good color on you, Verna.
No.
Didn't like that. And she also explains away the burn. This is what we're talking about. She goes, you probably were tripping balls. You couldn't see the room, so you fell onto a hot stick, and that's where you got the burn from.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, totally. Except we'll do the big pause. But I think that the shape of the burn would answer this question outright, but it doesn't come up.
Yeah.
Dark and Raw put his hand on Richard and burned him. So the shape of that burn is a handprint.
Yeah.
Not like a stick poke or a finger poke, whatever. It's like big. And I feel like maybe he can't take the bandage off right now, but soon he could just pull that off and be like, hey, just so you know, definitely a handprint burned me.
But she explains that away too, because she was like, sometimes the keeper does reach through and like touch people when they're dumb and like trying to call him. So.
Wait. I'm sorry. This is my analytical brain going to work. I'm like, well, then why discourage him from saying, hey, I was burned by Dark and Raw during this trip? Because, well, sometimes it does happen. Yeah,
no, it was a very convenient way to be like, maybe you're right, but I'm not really admitting that, but I'm kind of admitting that. Let's keep moving.
Yeah, no more questions.
Jared said, hand-shaped blog.
Hand-shaped blog. Sorry.
Oh, that one got ya.
Well, okay, so we used to go, we still camp, but when I was little, we'd go camping with my brother and I, and we'd always be poking sticks in the fire, and eventually that would turn into us whipping the sticks through the air, and we'd, try and cool them off, but yeah, surprise, surprise, we would get to hitting each other with them. And so I was thinking, if it was a hand-shaped log, there was a total probable reason for somebody to have a handprint shaped burn on them, and it definitely would have happened when I was a child with my brother.
Wow. I'm just very surprised that's where your brain went.
That's something you know now.
Yeah, I totally would have whipped my brother with a handshake.
We would have. He would have. I would have. We wouldn't anymore. We love each other very much, but
I don't know. Let's have a couple beers and head over to his house and find out.
You want to have a bonfire, buddy?
Yeah. Verna tells Richard that the mark of a wise man is being able to reach beyond for the truth, to admit they can learn more than they already know. I did like that sentiment. Like, in order to be a wise person or like smart, you actually have to be able to adapt and like learn and be like, yeah, okay, I wasn't always right.
Yeah, I think your opinion needs to be flexible in the way that it can change when new information is presented.
Yeah.
If you're unwilling to change, then you're unable to have an actual conversation with somebody. I mean, we will not get into it. This podcast is our little escape from the real world. Did you guys hear that? Excuse me. I just hit my mic, cleared my throat. I'm just breaking all the rules. This podcast is an escape from the real world for a lot of us. And there's a lot of conversations happening lately.
Yes.
With certain people that won't change their minds, and I will fairly say on both sides. And I like it when I see somebody in those chats that goes, you know what, I never thought about that. Even ones, let me think about this or read up on that, and I'll talk to you later. That is the mark of a wise person. And I dig it.
Yeah.
Like, it just rings true. And I think that is a really cool thing that Terry can do. In a completely fantastical world, there's these pieces of truth. See that there? And you can use them in your daily life. And you should. Well, Rant over.
I also like the fact that I can dislike Verna as much as I want to during this chapter, but she can still drop little things that I'm like, okay.
Well, you got me there.
Point for you. So then she tells him a wise person doesn't string unrelated events together.